U.S. announces additional $800 million in military aid to Ukraine. Washington, April 13. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration on Wednesday announced an additional $800 million in military assistance to Ukraine, bringing the total aid tally since Russian forces invaded to more than $2.4 billion. The package will include artillery systems, artillery rounds, and armored personnel carriers, Biden said in a statement after a phone call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Trump endorsement of Dr. Oz in Senate race stuns advisors, divides loyalists. Philadelphia, April 13. Donald Trump's decision to endorse celebrity Dr. Mehmet Oz in the Pennsylvania state race has divided local Republican Party officials and stunned close advisors who thought he had decided to stay out of the contest to pick a Republican candidate, two sources familiar with internal deliberations told Reuters. Oz and David McCormick, a former hedge fund CEO who has hired many former aides to Trump to work on his campaign, are the two top candidates in the Republican nominating contest that will determine who faces a Democratic candidate in the November congressional elections. The Senate race could determine control of the Senate and the fate of the Democratic President Joe Biden's legislative agenda. In recent months, top advisors urged Trump to stay out of the Republican primary during routine monthly meetings at his Mar-a-Lago, Florida estate, where potential endorsements of candidates were reviewed, according to the sources. In the last meeting held in March, the former president and advisors agreed to put aside the decision for now, the sources said. A third source with knowledge of the situation said Trump's wife Melania had encouraged him to endorse Oz. The internal deliberations on the endorsement have not been previously reported. While both Oz and McCormick had been vying for Trump's support, the advisors saw no reason for Trump to endorse either of them, as both men have enthusiastically adopted the former president's America First agenda. It's not like he was knocking out a never-Trumper with his endorsement of Oz, said one of the sources, using a name typically used to describe moderate Republicans who reject Trump's no-holds-barred approach to politics. Ultimately, Trump always makes the final call, and he went with his gut, the second source said. Neither source was able to shed light on why Trump changed his mind and decided to back Oz. A spokesperson for Trump did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Brittany Yannick, the communications director for the Oz campaign, said there was nothing surprising about Trump's endorsement. President Trump endorsed Dr. Mehmet Oz because he's a conservative outsider who will stand up to Joe Biden and the woke left, she said. The McCormick campaign did not respond directly to questions about the endorsement. While the primary includes a crowded field of contenders, recent polls show Oz and McCormick as the clear frontrunners. Oz, a Turkish-American, hosts the syndicated The Dr. Oz Show and is a household name in the United States, but his public image took a blow in 2014 when he told lawmakers probing bogus diet product ads that some of the products promoted on the show lacked scientific muster. The former president's endorsement has confused and riled Republicans in pro-Trump regions of Pennsylvania. Mark Hutke, the vice chairman of the Republican Party in Washington County in western Philadelphia, says callers have been flooding his office phone since Trump announced the endorsement on Saturday night. I have not had one call from a voter who supported the endorsement. They are pissed off, said Rutke. This doesn't mean they are abandoning Trump, because they're not. They just don't understand the endorsement. Sean Parnell, who was Trump's first choice in the Senate race before dropping out amid spousal abuse allegations, said Oz lacks a conservative track record and will be burdened by a long list of head-scratching moments from his years on television. Sam DeMarco, who heads the Republican Party in Allegheny County, which includes Pittsburgh, was also surprised that Trump decided to weigh in and doesn't expect it to have a major impact. Voters have a lot of questions about Oz's conservative credentials on issues like guns and abortion, DeMarco said. I am not quite sure why Trump decided to endorse at this point in the race. He's putting his credibility on the line. Chris Borick, a political science professor at Muhlenberg University in Pennsylvania, says Trump went out on a limb with the Oz endorsement. It certainly carries risk for Trump, whose goal in the end is to look good, and there's a good chance he won't when the race is over, Borick said. Still, some Trump loyalists in Pennsylvania fully support his endorsement of Oz and don't understand the blowback it is generating. People are becoming unhinged. Oz is a great candidate, said Lee Snover, a Trump loyalist who chairs the Republican Party in Northampton County. I got the same treatment when I backed Trump and people criticized me. They were wrong then and they are wrong about Oz, Snover said. Mayor of Ukraine's Kharkiv says bombing of city has increased significantly. April 13. The mayor of Kharkiv on Wednesday said Russian bombing of the Ukrainian city had increased significantly since Tuesday and reported there were casualties, including dead children. The enemy is bombing residential homes, residential areas. Unfortunately, there are civilian casualties. The worst thing is that children are dying, Ihor Terekov told Ukrainian national television. Kharkiv has already come under significant Russian strikes after the strikes since the late February invasion. Latest evidence of Maya calendar found inside Guatemalan pyramid. Washington, April 13. A glyph representing a day called Seven Deer on mule fragments dating from the 3rd century BC found inside the ruins of a pyramid in Guatemala marks the earliest known use of the Maya calendar, one of this ancient culture's renowned achievements. The fragments were found at the San Bartolo archaeological site in the jungles of northern Guatemala, which gained fame with the 2001 discovery of a buried chamber with elaborate and colorful murals dating to around 100 BC, depicting Maya ceremonial and mythological scenes, researchers said on Wednesday. The pieces with the Seven Deer glyph were unearthed inside the same Las Pinturas pyramid, where the still intact later murals were located. As was the case with the structure, the Maya often built what initially was modest-sized temples, then constructed ever larger versions atop the earlier ones. This pyramid eventually reached about 100 feet tall. The glyph found on the mural fragments for Seven Deer, one of the calendar's 260 named days, consisted of the ancient Maya writing for the number 7 over the outline of a deer's head. University of Texas professor Mesoamerican art and writing David Stewart, lead author of the research published in the journal Science Advances, described the fragments as 2 small pieces of white plaster that would fit in your hand that were once attached to a stone wall. The wall was intentionally destroyed by the ancient Maya when they were rebuilding the ceremonial spaces. It eventually grew into a pyramid. The 2 pieces fit together and have black painted calligraphy, opening with the date 7 Deer. The rest is hard to read, Stewart added. The paintings from this phase are all badly fragmented, unlike any from the late, more famous chamber, Stewart said. Until now, the earliest definitive Maya calendar notation dated to the 1st century BC. The calendar, rooted upon observations of the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, was based on the ritual cycle of 260 named days. The 260-day calendar, called the Tzolk'in, was one of several interrelated Maya systems of reckoning time, also including a solar year of 365 days, a larger system called the long count, and a lunar system. The calendar was among the achievements of a culture that also developed a writing system encompassing 800 glyphs, with the earliest examples also from San Bartolo. The Maya built temples, pyramids, palaces, and observatories, and engaged in sophisticated farming without using metal tools or the wheel. San Bartolo was a regional center during the Maya pre-classic period, spanning from about 400 BC to 250 AD. This age set the foundation for the blossoming of Maya culture during the subsequent Classic period, known for cities including Tikal in Guatemala, Palenque in Mexico, and Copan in Honduras. About 7,000 mural fragments, some as small as a fingernail and others up to 8 by 16 inches, have been found at San Bartolo, amounting to what anthropology professors and study co-author Heather Hurst of Skidmore College in New York State called a giant jigsaw puzzle. The 7 deer and other notations seen on 11 San Bartolo mural fragments examined in the study hint at mature artistic and writing conventions in the region at the time, suggesting the calendar already had been in use for many years. Other sites will likely find other examples, perhaps even earlier examples, Hurst said. Second, the scribal tradition represented in these 11 fragments is diverse, expressive. Their technology for paint preparation and calligraphic fluidity is impressive. This was a well-established tradition of writing and art, Hurst added. Some Maya communities today still use the ancient calendar. This calendar system has lasted for at least 2,200 years, maintained by the Maya during times of incredible change, stress, and tragedy, Stewart said. With jury picked, Johnny Depp opens U.S. libel case against ex-wife Heard. Washington, April 12th. Lawyers for Hollywood star Johnny Depp on Tuesday gave a jury an overview of his U.S. defamation case against his ex-wife Amber Heard, the latest chapter in a long-running legal fight between the two Hollywood stars. Opening statements kicked off in a Virginia courtroom in a lawsuit Depp, 58, brought against Heard, 35, for $50 million in 2018. Depp alleges Heard defamed him when she penned a December 2018 opinion piece in the Washington Post about being a survivor of domestic abuse. The article never mentioned Depp by name, but Depp lawyer Benjamin Chu told jurors on Tuesday that it was clear Heard was referencing the Hollywood leading man. Chu told jurors Heard published the piece on the eve of the release of Aquaman, her biggest film yet, to drum up publicity and advance her career. By choosing to lie about her husband for her own personal benefit, Amber Heard forever changed Mr. Depp's life and his reputation, Chu said. You will hear him tell you the dreadful impact it has had on his life. Heard's piece in the Washington Post devastated Depp's career, Chu said. Hollywood studios don't want to deal with the public backlash from hiring someone accused of abuse, even someone with the incredible body of work and record that Mr. Depp can be proud of, Chu said. J. Benjamin Rottenborn, a lawyer for Heard, said in his opening statement that Depp was trying to mislead the jury with crazy conspiracy theories. Rottenborn said Heard was telling the truth about horrific abuse she endured, but the case is really about a narrow legal question, whether Heard's opinion piece was free speech protected by the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment. That is the question, and that is what you are being asked to decide, said Rottenborn told jurors. Mr. Depp's team is trying to turn this case into a soap opera, Rottenborn said. Why? I'm not really sure, because the evidence isn't pretty for Mr. Depp. Another of Heard's lawyers, Elaine Braidhoff, said that during a trip to Australia in 2015, Depp dragged Heard across the floor, punched her, kicked her, and then penetrated her with a liquor bottle. Depp shook his head no in the courtroom when Braidhoff made the statement to jurors. A state court judge in Fairfax County, Virginia, is overseeing the trial, which is expected to last 6 weeks. A jury was selected on Monday. Less than 2 years ago, Depp lost a libel case against The Sun, a British tabloid that labeled him a wife-beater. A London High Court judge ruled he had repeatedly assaulted Heard and put her in fear of her life. In the U.S. case, Depp and Heard both submitted long lists of potential witnesses they could put on the stand. Heard's list includes her ex-boyfriend and Tesla chief executive Elon Musk, with whom she texted about Depp. Also on the list of potential witnesses is actor James Franco. The Washington Post is not a defendant in the case. Depp's lawyers have said they filed the case in Fairfax County, outside the District of Columbia, because the newspaper is printed at a facility there. Heard unsuccessfully tried to transfer the case to Los Angeles, where she and Depp live. The United States is a difficult forum for libel plaintiffs, especially public figures like Depp, who faces several hurdles in the Virginia case. Depp must prove by clear and convincing evidence that Heard knowingly made false claims. Depp and Heard met while making 2011 film The Rum Diary and married 4 years later. Heard accused Depp of domestic abuse after filing for divorce in 2016. Heard is known for her roles in Aquaman and Justice League. She has brought her own libel claim against Depp, saying he smeared her by calling her a liar. Heard's counterclaim will be decided as part of the trial. Heard is seeking $100 million in damages from Depp, according to court papers. In her evidence to the London High Court, Heard said Depp would turn into a jealous alter ego, the monster, after binging on drugs and alcohol, and had threatened to kill her. She detailed 14 occasions of extreme violence when she said the actor choked, punched, slapped, headbutted, throttled, and kicked her. The London judge accepted 12 of these accounts as true. Following the November 2020 ruling in the London libel trial, Depp was replaced with Danish actor Mads Mikkelsen in the third film in the Fantastic Beasts franchise, a spin-off from the Harry Potter books and films. AI is explaining itself to humans, and it's paying off. Oakland, California, April 6. Microsoft Corporation's LinkedIn boosted subscription revenue by 8% after arming its sales team with artificial intelligence software that not only predicts clients at risk of canceling, but also explains how it arrived at its conclusion. The system, introduced last July and described in a LinkedIn blog post on Wednesday, marks a breakthrough in getting AI to show its work in a helpful way. While AI scientists have no problem designing systems that make acute predictions on all sorts of business outcomes, they are discovering that to make those tools more effective for human operators, the AI may need to explain itself through another algorithm. The emerging field of explainable AI, or XAI, has spurred big investment in Silicon Valley as startups and cloud giants compete to make opaque software more understandable, and has stoked discussion in Washington and Brussels, where regulators want to ensure automated decision-making is done fairly and transparently. AI technology can perpetuate societal biases like those around race, gender, and culture. Some AI scientists view explanations as a crucial part of mitigating those problematic outcomes. U.S. consumer protection regulators, including the Federal Trade Commission, have warned over the last 2 years that AI that is not explainable could be investigated. The EU next year could pass the Artificial Intelligence Act, a set of comprehensive requirements, including that users be able to interpret automated predictions. Proponents of explainable AI say it has helped increase the effectiveness of AI's application in fields such as healthcare and sales. Google Cloud sells explainable AI services that, for instance, tell clients trying to sharpen their systems which pixels and soon which training examples mattered most in predicting the subject of a photo. But critics say the explanations of why AI predicted what it did are too unreliable because the AI technology to interpret the machines is not good enough. LinkedIn and other developing explainable AI acknowledge that each step in the process, analyzing predictions, generating explanations, confirming their accuracy, and making them actionable for users, still has room for improvement. But after 2 years of trial and error in a relatively low-stakes application, LinkedIn says its technology has yielded practical value. Its proof is the 8% increase in renewal bookings during the current fiscal year above normally expected growth. LinkedIn declined to specify the benefit in dollars, but described it as sizable. Before, LinkedIn salespeople relied on their own intuition and some spotty automated alerts about clients' adoption of services. Now, the AI quickly handles research and analysts. Dubbed Crystal Candle by LinkedIn, it calls out unnoticed trends, and its reasoning helps salespeople hone their tactics to keep at-risk customers on board and pitch others on upgrades. LinkedIn says explainable-based recommendations have expanded to more than 5,000 of its sales employees, spanning recruiting, advertising, marketing, and education offerings. It has helped experienced salespeople by arming them with specific insights to navigate conversations with prospects. It's also helped new salespeople dive in right away, says Parvez Ahmed, LinkedIn's director of machine learning and head of data science applied research. In 2020, LinkedIn had first provided predictions without explanations. A score with about 80% accuracy indicates the likelihood a client soon due for renewal will upgrade, hold steady, or cancel. Salespeople were not fully won over. The team selling LinkedIn's talent solutions, recruiting and hiring software were unclear in how to adapt their strategy, especially when the odds of a client not renewing are no better than a coin toss. Last July, they started seeing a short, auto-generated paragraph that highlights the factors influencing the score. For instance, the AI decided a customer was likely to upgrade because it grew by 240 workers over the past year, and candidates have become 146% more responsive in the last month. In addition, an index that measures a client's overall success with LinkedIn recruiting tools surged 25% in the last 3 months. Lika Doshi, LinkedIn's vice president of global operations, said that based on the explanations, sales representatives now direct clients to training, support, and services that might improve their experience and keep them spending. But some AI experts question whether explanations are necessary. They could even do harm, engendering a false sense of security in AI, or prompting design sacrifices that make predictions less accurate, researchers say. Fei Li, co-director of Stanford University's Institute for Human-Centered Artificial Intelligence, said people use products such as Tylenol and Google Maps whose inner workings are not neatly understood. In such cases, rigorous testing and monitoring have dispelled most doubts about their efficacy. Similarly, AI systems overall could be deemed fair even if individual decisions are inscrutable, said Daniel Roy, an associate professor of statistics at University of Toronto. LinkedIn says an algorithm's integrity cannot be evaluated without understanding its thinking. It also maintains that tools like Crystal Candle could help AI users in other fields. Doctors could learn why AI predicts someone is more at risk of a disease, or people could be told why AI recommended they be denied a credit card. The hope is that explanations reveal whether a system aligns with concepts and values one wants to promote, said Ben Bean Kim, an AI researcher at Google. I view interpretability as ultimately enabling a customer conversation between machines and humans, she said.